Again, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us for the October 2023 Work Camping Q&A session. I'm Jody Anderson-Duquette, one of the co-owners here at Workamper News. If you're not familiar with Workamper News, we created the term work camping back in 1987. Workamper.com is our online home. We also did a physical mailed magazine publication for 35 years. We did very recently just discontinue that, so maybe you've seen one of our magazines kicking around in the work camping community. But I myself have been here for 17 years now, working with employers and work campers as well, both sides of the fence. My husband and I are also RVers. We are on our third RV. We've had a fifth wheel, Class C, and now we have a bumper pulled travel trailer. We've been full-time RVers, part-time RVers, and just have really come to love the lifestyle. I can't imagine traveling any other way. So anyway, hopefully I can give you guys lots of good input today. Our goal at Workamper News is to help you guys be successful. We want you to learn as much as you can about this lifestyle so that way you're prepared and you know what's coming. And the more confidence you have and the more you feel you know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, etc., the more success, the more confidence, the more positive experiences you're going to have. And that's really our goal here at Workamper News. So workamper.com, hopefully you've been there before, peruse, join, maybe become a member. We are a membership organization. We're supported by both work campers and employers as well, both sides of the fence. So we're more than just a job listings website. And because we don't put tracker spam banners all over our website, we're not pushing affiliate products, we're not, slamming commercial things down in your face and stuff like that. We're supported by our members, and we work solely for our members, and we never sell or share your data, etc. So there are fees to utilize our more enhanced or advanced resources and tools. We do offer all of our job listings for free on a delayed basis, but the good stuff comes with our yearly memberships, which range anywhere from $20 to $67 a year. Not too big of an investment, but I want you guys to know that exists. All right, so if you haven't, please definitely check out our website and join. There is a free 30-day trial that you can check out and really dig in. So I'm not going to, you may feel a little bit, oh, this is just a commercial for Workamper News. I am going to show you guys our website upon answering some of the questions, but I promise this is not just to tell you guys to go join the website. That won't be the answer to every question, I promise. All right, well, let's go ahead and dig into the questions that you guys submitted. We had questions coming from folks who've been at the lifestyle for a while, but of course, mostly for folks who are just learning about the lifestyle or wanting to get started. So this was one of the simple questions that came in. How do I get started? How do I even get into this thing? So I'm going to go over to my internet browser now, navigate away from our PowerPoint. Okay, so here's workamper.com. This is our main website. We have lots of stuff that's available, just open before you even log in. If you go under the work camping menu, we have a job resources page. You can learn more about our member tools. Our Workamper FAQ is very, very broad, lots of details in that Workamper FAQ. You can check out some featured employers. These are employers that have just taken time to share more information about their Workamper programs and really highlight themselves. So some free stuff that you guys can check out here anytime. So if we go to job resources, I just want to show you guys this article, how to find a work camping job. Here are 12 steps, kind of a, well, 11 steps, I guess. I do a video on this as well. That's on our YouTube channel, 12 steps to finding a work camping job. I don't know where I came up with the 12th step where this is only 11, but obviously I was really on the ball that day. So this is kind of a shorter description of how to get going. Basically, you need to understand yourself first and know what you're looking for. Where do you want to go? What are your budgetary needs? Do you need to find a job that's paying for all hours and providing an RV site, or are you okay just working in trade for an RV site? Are you traveling with others? Do you have a spouse that you're traveling with, or a partner, or a friend, or a family member? Are you a family with kids? Are they teenagers? Are they young kids? Are you all on the same page with this? Be sure to get, everybody's ideas as to how they see this lifestyle going for your family, for your household, and, try to make some group decisions, compromises, etc. So you need to know what you want, and so then you can start looking for the opportunities that match that. Now we have multiple job listing avenues, and it's also good to put yourself out there as well. And we can dive into that a little bit here. So if you do decide to become a member of workamper.com, you would then be able to log in and you are taken to what's called the dashboard. From the dashboard, you'll see all of these different orange buttons here. The hotline jobs page and the online magazine archive, those are going to be your two main avenues for looking at job listings. We also have those featured employers that I mentioned. We also do a podcast. It's called The Workamper Show, and many of the episodes of our podcast are interviews with employers talking about the jobs that they have available to Workampers. So you want to subscribe to the Workamper Show podcast in whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, or you can listen on our podcast website, which I'll show you guys later as well. So multiple avenues for you to be exploring the different opportunities that are out there. Now, if we click on hotline jobs, we have the most advanced search criteria filters for Workampers. We do require employers to answer and provide certain information with their job listings when submitting them. So then this gives you guys more ability to search and refine. So you can come in here and search on different states, more than one state at a time if you want to. You can search for positions where an RV site is provided, either as part of the compensation or for a fee. If you are looking for housing because you don't have an RV or you're just needing something else for a while, you can search for positions on that. You can search for all hours paid. Other compensation would be like a stipend, or you're working X number of hours for your RV site, and then any hours above that will be provided for pay. If you are just looking to work in trade for an RV site and you don't want to worry about receiving compensation, that could be reported as income and may affect things like your disability, Social Security, or whatever. You can just search for positions where there's no monetary compensation. You need to know when you want to start. If you're going to start in April or start in May, you can find positions that have start dates that fit that time period. You can also, if you're a solo, just search for positions where an employer indicated that they would consider solos for their jobs. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but typically we see anywhere from 70 to 80% of the job listings indicating that they are considering solos. Now, the Hotline Jobs website page, these are only ads that were posted in the last 14 days. So when you come here on our website, you're always going to see the published date of the ad, and just by default, you're going to know that these opportunities were posted within the last 2 weeks, so they're more likely to be up to date. So the contact information is there. If you feel like that opportunity is a match, that's when you want to start reaching out. And something that is also cool that we offer is we do have these additional links here with the ads. Sorry, my mouse is running a little slow, guys. So if you see me kind of scatterbrained, it's just because my mouse is misbehaving. Okay. So employer tours are just a little profile to give you some more information, hopefully some photos about the living and work environment of that location. And praise your employer and Workamper experiences. These are avenues where Workampers who have worked for that employer have shared about their experience working for that employer, or a way for you to reach out to those Workampers. So we are giving you a direct connection to Workampers who have worked for these employers before. Again, you won't find that anywhere else. So yeah, definitely dig in, go through the hotline job listings. You can come into our online magazine archive. We have 100 issues of our magazine on here. Each issue is a PDF file, and each PDF file, there are help wanted ads organized by state. And as you can see here with some of the descriptions, every issue includes multiple articles as well, helping you learning about the lifestyle, different opportunities that are out there, etc. So you'll want to dig in. We recommend looking at past issues, especially if you're someone that, you're looking for a very specific area or a specific type of position or very specific compensation. You may need to expand your search to some older ads. Even if an employer isn't currently advertising, if the operation is still in business, it is likely that they are still hiring folks, whether they have current openings or maybe future openings. So I wouldn't tell you not to contact these employers. You may not have the current contact information in that ad text. You may need to go to their website or find a Facebook page or something like that, maybe to find a new email address or a better phone number to call. But if something looks like it's going to, be a potential match for you, don't hesitate to reach out and at least send some communications to inquire. So you're going to be, watching the job listings coming through, and you never know when that right opportunity is going to come through. So that's why we have yearly memberships, because it's not just, oh, I found a job and I'm done. Oftentimes, Workampers, the majority of you guys like to be kind of planning things out, and you are looking for opportunities maybe 3 to 8 months, even 12 months ahead of time. A lot of Workampers right now are lining up their summer 2024 positions, even though we're just in October, November. You can wait until later. It's not like, oh, sorry guys. It's not like you have to plan ahead and oh, I won't find a job if, if you start later with your job finding tactics. So there are always opportunities that are, coming up. The Workamping community isn't really different than sort of the general, economic business community that we see in a lot of, our local areas right now, where a lot of businesses are having a hard time finding people to come to work. So there are a lot of opportunities out there and not quite as many folks taking the positions as there used to be. So some positions will still have a higher competition to get them, especially in the winter months in prime areas that RVers like to be in. It's harder to find those positions. So for those positions, you may want to start ahead of time, but especially for the summer months, it's a lot easier to find opportunities on the fly. They may not necessarily check as many of your boxes as you would hope, but that's up to you to determine what you're willing to compromise on. So yeah, hopefully, we recommend if you're 6 months out from wanting to start a position, that's when you really need to get your resume going and start, communicating with employers that you think may be a match. Then hopefully you're less stressed out, and embarking on your lifestyle, like you already know where you're going and you feel good about where you're going and what you're doing first, instead of transitioning into this new lifestyle on top of, oh my gosh, I don't know where I'm going or if I'm going to have the money to do it, et cetera, et cetera. Let's try to keep the stress off you guys and kind of plan things out. So another thing that we recommend you guys do is to create a resume. We, of course, have a very easy step-by-step resume builder that you can use. And it's really sort of just a fill in the blank. Contact information, when you're available to work, the types of entities that you're interested in working for, salary, preferred work schedule, the locations that you want to be in starting on that availability date and for the season you want to work for. In the history section, you can put in past Workamping jobs or past other jobs that you've had, especially ones that have given you skills that would relate to positions that you are interested in acquiring. In the Sell Yourself section, this is just an open text area where you can put in, all the lovely things about yourself. We recommend definitely breaking up into some different sections, different paragraphs, if you can get some bulleted lists in there, etc., just to make that text easier to read. We do offer a sample that you're welcome to model off of. We also have many videos and articles giving you even more instructions on refining this resume that you're going to be sending out, or you can be found by employers searching our database. You can add photos to your resume or not, totally up to you. If you want to record an introduction video about yourself, put it on your YouTube channel and then plug that link in here onto your resume, then we will add it and display it with your resume so Workamper employers can then play that and get an introduction. So we take all of that information and compile it into this nice format here. So our employer members who pay for access to our resume database, we don't post your guys' resumes to the open internet for anyone to find. It's only in our database by searched by our employer members. So they have multiple different fields that they can search on. The different fields that you have input into your resume are many of the search fields that the employers have. So they go through the resume database and reach out to any work campers that they think may be a match for their opportunities. So we have some employer members, they never advertise their jobs. All they do is go into our resume database, do some searches, and that's how they find their work campers. So that's why we do recommend kind of that two-prong approach. You want to be reviewing the opportunities that are being posted and reach out to those, but also make yourself available and sell yourself via the resume tool here. And there are, of course, other online resources, Facebook groups, etc. People, post things in looking for jobs, etc. And that works for some folks. Of course, you don't know which employers are using which platform. Really, it kind of varies. Some employers use them all. Some employers use one. Some use a couple. So because of the internet, and especially with social media, like at least on Facebook, there's at least 16 groups now on work camping. So it makes it a lot harder for work campers now. It takes a lot more time for you guys to have to look at all these different websites and all these different Facebook groups to try to, reach out to as many employers as possible. So it can be a lot of effort if you want to try and utilize all of the avenues that are out there. Just be cautious on websites and social media groups that are, like I said, open to the whole internet. Anyone can join, anyone can submit an ad, etc. Just be cautious about sharing your personal information, and also more thoroughly vet opportunities that you find, as there is more, likeliness for spam, pirates, hackers, people trying to steal your information or your money, etc. In, the free social media, free websites, etc. Okay, so if we go back to our article here, you are going to, like I said, you're going to be connecting with the different opportunities. You're going to research opportunities. If you do, narrow down to a few employers that you're interested in, you're going to read those Workampers experience postings. You're going to read Google reviews, Yelp reviews, TripAdvisor reviews, Glassdoor.com reviews, whatever reviews you can find. You want to definitely go through those, learn what you can about the company to help yourself. Then, we're just getting as much information as we can to better understand and better determine if it's going to be a match for you or not. Hopefully you'll be able to do an interview with them. You'll have lots of questions to ask. They'll have questions to ask of you that you will answer. And so once you, have all of the information, because sometimes in the help wanted ads, the employers are good at spelling out what the compensation is, what the duties are, etc., but not always. So oftentimes you have to ask more questions to get all of the information that you need to do the math on a work camping job, to determine what your compensation is and to understand what the duties are and schedule and things like that. So there will likely be some effort there in an interview communication process to get all of that information that you need. We'll talk a little bit more about that in some other questions that we answer. Then if you do decide, this does seem like a match, hopefully you will get a work agreement. Either you write it up or the employer writes it up, just laying out the expectations of both parties. And that is a good, starting off on the same page kind of tool. And then hopefully, you await the job to start and stay in communication with that employer, checking in every once in a while just to make sure all systems are go. More often than not, work campers dump on employers and no-show or ghost them, or things come up, family matters come up, medical emergencies come up, etc. They're not willing to fulfill, they're not able to fulfill the position. But sometimes things change on the employer side. Some other past work campers decide to return, or ownership or management changed at the business. And so now they're doing something different with staffing, and you had expected to go have this job, but now it doesn't exist anymore. So it's good to stay in communication with that employer in the meantime, especially if you're accepting a position multiple months in advance. So so dig in, go through this article, go watch the video, 12 Steps to Finding a Work Camping Job. It's on our YouTube channel, and that's going to go even more in depth on a lot of the stuff than what I did today. But okay. All right. let's go back to the PowerPoint here. Okay, and let's go ahead and move on to our next question. Okay, how do you narrow the search process as a female single, and what is it like as a female single working at some of these jobs? So I did kind of show you guys already on that Hotline Jobs website page, we do have the search option for solos considered. I think there are a couple other websites that, you know, allow employers to put like tags or something with their ads, but it's not consistent. So you can't consistently always search for solos considered on some of the other websites that are out there. But if you do it on our, so 58 out of 81 of the opportunities posted in the last 2 weeks. So that's an easy way to do it there. And also I wanted to show in the magazine, I was on this older page. So the November, December 2020 issue, I'm trying to highlight it, but it's not really doing anything. So the November, December 2020 issue, that was an issue where we featured solos specifically. So you'll find multiple articles in that issue talking about solo work campers and their adventures. Also, the ads where employers indicated that they considered solos have a different, they're printed in blue instead of black. So you can easily see the ad listings in that issue for the employers that consider solos. But we've had many solos min articles in our magazines and also on our podcast. So the Workamper Show is our podcast. Workampershow.com is our website for our podcast. You can come on here, listen to any of the episodes. So if we just do a search, and it's going to vary, you might be able to search on solo or single or whatever. So and mostly women. It seems like there are more solo female RVers than there are male solo RVers. I mean, there's still, you know, a little bit of both, but it does seem like there are more ladies out there doing it on the road, traveling around. So yeah, I would listen to, because I myself, I'm not a solo RVer, so I can't say exactly what it is like because I haven't lived it myself, but I have known many, many solo RVers. We've done a rendezvous event here in Arkansas. We did it for a number of years, like a live conference event. And we had lots of solo gals coming through, and they were just a joy and a pleasure to meet and talk to. And one of my favorite gals, her name is Barbara. She was on the podcast. Barbara Alfer. Here she is. So she started work camping at the age of 72 as a solo. Amazing. She's still going. I think she's 80 something now. And so lots of inspiring stories here. And it's not always, you know, rainbows and puppy dogs. Like there are times where, you know, things get challenging and stuff like that. But so yeah, listen to the stories here in the Workamper Show podcast. There is also another podcast, and let me just back up here because she was on our podcast. So this gal here on the top one, Kathy, she is the founder of Solo Women RV, which is a podcast and website. So if you check out solowomenrv.com, that's where you can listen to most of her episodes. And she's a work camper herself, and she interviews other people, lots of really great episodes in her podcast. So I definitely encourage you to listen to what Kathy has to say. She's going to give you a lot of good input on things. So, all right, hopefully that's a few good resources for you to dig into, but there are definitely a lot of opportunities for solos. And if you know, kind of create your job finding tactics, and it'll kind of ebb and flow as you guys try things and change things up. But kind of once you get your system down, and as long as you stay engaged in the job finding process and engaged in the community, a lot of solos report that they have very little trouble finding opportunities for themselves. So it just might take a little time to, you know, get your strategy ironed out in a way that works best for you. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, we had multiple folks with questions kind of on this topic. So I have a insert description of RV here. Will employers accept me? And oftentimes this question comes from folks who are maybe living in a vehicle like a car or SUV or a truck, and they're, tent camping, or maybe they're in a van and the van is not self-contained, meaning they, don't have, shower, sink, food storage capabilities. Some folks do have vans with, maybe a portable toilet, but no shower, so there's definitely a variety that's out there. Some folks have schoolies, some folks are in pop-ups. Those are maybe considered less traditional RV types, but yes, there are still opportunities out there for everyone. So if you are an individual, that doesn't necessarily have a traditional hard-sided self-contained RV, and that's going to be, self-contained means you have shower, sink, food storage, plumbing, holding tanks to hold your black water, gray water, electricity, and, means to keep you cool if it's super hot, or warm if it's cold. That's what self-contained means. And some locations even have, like, for insurance purposes, they can only allow RVs that are RVIA certified, which is just the sticker that you see on a bunch of different RVs. I don't know what all of those qualifications are and stuff, and what all of that exactly means, but some places, because of insurance purposes, can't have other, like, I think it's like a fire hazard or something. I don't know, because the electric system isn't certified. I'm not sure. But, the way traditional RVs are built, sometimes they're probably less safe than a lot of custom-made RVs that folks have completed out there. So anyway, it may be a little more challenging to find opportunities if you have a unique RV setup, especially if you are looking to work only at commercial RV parks or campgrounds, resorts, whatever. And that's because the RV site and, like, the environment is the product that that business is selling. So some locations may not be comfortable with having folks in, a custom made school bus or a pop-up or whatever, because the Workampers are on display to the customers all of the time. Is that fair? Not necessarily, but it's their business. So sometimes it may be just a preference thing like that. Some situations, it might be that the employer doesn't have a shower house, a bath house, laundry facilities, those kinds of things available. So you, as a Workamper, if you don't have a shower or a bathroom in your RV, then you don't have anywhere to take care of your, human stuff. And that's challenging. So that could be the situation. Some locations, like, so Delaware North, they're a concessionaire that operates in and around national parks. And so they are not comfortable having Workampers coming in like pop-ups or tents because of all the wildlife in the area. It's just not safe for a Workamper to live a full season within Yellowstone in a tent because of bears and buffalo and elk, and the temperature changes. Some days it's going to get down pretty cold, might even snow in the early part of the season or at the end of the season. In some locations, it's just very, very hot. And so it wouldn't be safe for you to not be, living in a thing with the air conditioner. And also, if it's raining really hard or storming or whatever, like, they just want their Workampers to be safe and comfortable and taken care of. And so that's sometimes why employers will have certain, restrictions or guidelines, or have specific, types of RVs that they're willing to accept or not accept. Now, it is challenging to filter out the opportunities where, someone with a van or with a pop-up or a schoolie or whatever, at this point in time in our system, and I haven't seen anywhere else, a way to say, I have this type of RV, what employers would accept me. So that doesn't exist right now that I know of. One thing with us, I can only, speak for Workamper.com here, because we're building it. We have built it and we are building a new one. So Luke and I, my husband and I are the co-owners here. And so we've been working on a complete website rebuild of workamper.com. That's hopefully going to be launching in the next few months. And so we're enhancing the resume builder tool quite a bit. Right now, Workampers can indicate what kind of RV they have and the length. We're taking that a little further with the next rendition. But down the line, our goal is to, be able to create the algorithms, have the employers input the data and the Workampers input the data. So then the system is then going to be able to find those matches for you. So eventually we will get to the point where the employer will indicate, yes, we accept fifth wheels, travel trailers, class A's, pop-ups, tents, or whatever, or, they'll check which ones they will do and which ones they won't do, and then the system will be able to better match you guys up. So that's where we're going, but we're not there yet. So I'm really sorry that I don't have a better answer for you at this time, but knowing which jobs accept which types of RVs, self-contained, not self-contained, RV types, etc. At this point, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. So you'll just have to reach out to that employer, and it is frustrating. It will feel maybe like you will feel like you're wasting your time sometimes, but that's just kind of the way it is now. And there are so many variations on the different RV types that are out there. So it's definitely going to take kind of some programming work to make sure we're covering all the bases that are out there. But you definitely want to be upfront with any employer that you are communicating with as to, what your house on wheels is, who makes up your RV household, whether that's human or pet, etc. That way there are no surprises. You certainly don't want to travel and go to a location that would not be accepting of your home on wheels or who you are or who is in your household. So definitely, clearly communicate that during, the communication process that you're doing with that employer. Okay. Next up. Are there shorter term and longer terms available, or are most jobs for a full season? Are there any 1 to 2 week jobs? Yes, 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 and rarely. So keep in mind, guys, I think there are a lot of folks that learn about work camping and just get started, and they put work camping kind of in this box. So work camping is doing any kind of work while living in an RV. Like that's the definition. It's not working in a campground or working for an RV site or being a camp host. Like it's not that limited. So looking outside of the RV park campground business type is going to open a lot more situations for you guys. So start thinking outside of the box a little bit and exploring, especially at workamper.com. We have a larger quantity of ads and a larger variety of types of businesses. I'm in most of the Facebook groups, and most of those, I feel like it's a narrower, there's not a big variety of, it's mostly going to be RV parks and campgrounds that I see in those Facebook groups and stuff. So, but there are a lot of RV parks and campgrounds that hire Workampers. So in the outdoor hospitality industry itself, so that's going to be your campgrounds, that's going to be lodges, hotels, motels, retail operations, restaurants, etc., especially in like touristy areas or near national landmarks, monuments, like cool stuff that people like to do. Especially if it's in, that northern half of the country, there is going to be a season, with the outdoor hospitality stuff. You're pretty much outdoors April, May through September, October, and then it just gets cold. So there's still stuff to do, but most RVers don't like to be up in the north in the winter months and have to deal with cold and freezing and all of that fun stuff. So there are more opportunities available in the summer, less opportunities available in the fall, winter months, and you might need to get a little more creative than in those fall or winter months. So yes, the typical season is going to be April, May through September, October, and then kind of the opposite of that, September, October through, March, April, are sort of the two main seasons that we see, especially in that outdoor hospitality industry umbrella. But there are certainly other business types that hire RVers. And let me go. And so if you just start going through, listening to our podcast, going through past issues of our magazine, etc., you guys are going to start seeing the larger variety of opportunities that are out there. And with our podcast here, Workamper Show, in the 200th episode, Luke and I sat down and just listed out 200 different work camping positions that we could think of. That doesn't cover everything that's out there, but it's going to expand your mind and be like, oh, I never thought of blah, blah, blah. That sounds cool. I'm going to check that out. So I encourage you to listen to this podcast episode as that kind of might start, opening up some ideas for you. Let me just look at my notes here. Oh, yes. So if a business is open year-round, they may have a little more flexibility with maybe doing some shorter terms since they're open year-round anyway. Their season isn't as limited. They're just always open, so there may be room for some shorter stints possible. When a business is only open and they're really maybe only busy May through September, they really want to bring their people in and have their people there to get them through the season. They don't want to be spending their time training new people and having people coming and going. So I think, if you think about it from the business owner, business operator's perspective, that would add some challenges. So you will see less of those short stints in the operations that are only open for a more limited period of time. If you are open to volunteering, meaning you're not necessarily looking for wages, you're just looking to maybe work a few hours and trade for an RV site, that's going to open and be a little more flexible for you. You can look at doing things like volunteering in state parks, county parks. You can consider like historical societies, like historic landmarks, CCC, conservation camps, locations like that will hire, docents or people to work the visitor center. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers projects. We have a contract with the Corps of Engineers to advertise their jobs through our system. So you'll find a lot of their opportunities in our system. And so they do volunteers, and they might be more flexible to accept shorter stints because you guys are a supplement. You are helping to keep them open and maintain their operations, but you're not necessarily like the most critical element to operating the business. You're just like a very welcome asset for being there. So if you are able to volunteer, that kind of opens up a little more flexibility for you there. In thinking about longer term positions. So there are some that are out there, especially like we talked about those businesses that are open year round. Some may be seeking managers or folks to come work for them and be there for a year or 2 years or 5 years. We've seen that occasionally in ads where they request a longer term, like multiple years. So there are opportunities out there, or, some employers, they may not advertise that the job could be long-term, but if they hire you and you do a good job for them and things are good and you just want to stay, I don't see why they would tell you to leave, So it could be something that is advertised as just a seasonal or shorter term opportunity, could potentially turn into something longer term. And, if you do get in with an entity and they have multiple locations, you might be able to move around to some of their different locations. So while you're not necessarily working at the, same location, you might still be working for the same company, just at their different locations, whether it's in different states or all within the same state. There are also positions that are not location-based. If you're looking for something remote, like I want to sit on my computer on the internet in my RV and work, look on the main job sites like Indeed and remotework.com or whatever those main sites are. You're not really going to find remote jobs advertised to RVers because they don't care what you're living in. But opportunities that are advertised to Workampers that aren't location-based, like carnivals, traveling carnivals will seek Workampers. There are businesses that do like the campground maps and stuff, and there are local ads in the campground maps. So you are the salesperson. You go to that location, you go to the local businesses around that campground and make those sales for the advertising for the campground map and other stuff too. So that's a sales position that would keep you traveling around. There are, what else? Some other short-term gigs. The sugar beet harvest is going on now. That's a short-term gig, as short as 2 weeks, or it could be up to a month. That's Minnesota, North Dakota, Michigan mostly. There is a fulfillment center in Minnesota called DigiKey, and they hire Workampers, and that's a 3-month stint or more if you want. What else did I write? Oh, there are holiday jobs. We're coming up on holidays. So right now, pumpkin sales tents or lots, some hire Workampers for that, and some of those roll right into Christmas tree sales, and there are other companies too that just hire folks to do Christmas tree sales, fireworks at New Year's and 4th of July. There are some entities that hire to work kiosks in malls around the holiday season, because obviously it's a bigger, heavier shopping season. What else did I write down here? Oh, there is another entity called ID Plans. I'm pretty sure they did the podcast and they've been in a magazine. And so when you work for them, you go to a building and you are in essence like measuring and looking at the different diagrams and things like that to create a, it's like the whole layout of the building, like the electric diagram and the blueprints and stuff like that of these buildings. And it's your job to do, I'll climb on ladders and look at stuff and things like that. And so you might be at this location for a couple weeks, gathering all your data and building your report. And then, you know, you move on to something else. Southern Cross hires Workampers to walk gas lines. That's going to keep you moving around, and that could be a shorter term gig as well. So there are definitely things out there that would be shorter seasons. If you're someone who's just like, oh, I just want to kind of go somewhere and pick up some odd jobs for a couple weeks and then go somewhere else for a couple weeks, you're going to need to use whatever, you know, Google temporary job finding apps, and that's where you'll find more opportunities like that. Very rarely are there less than a week opportunities advertised to Workampers. I saw once like a 4-day volunteer gig at a Colorado State park. The Albuquerque Balloon Festival, I think, hires RVers to like help with the parking. Aramark will do events at certain like arenas or coliseums, and you would work the concession stands for, you know, the rodeo or whatever other events are taking place at that facility. So there may be some things like that, but it's going to be pretty rare. So if you're looking for just kind of day labor gigs, then the work camping community resources are probably not going to be the best avenue for you to find those really short-term things. All right, let's go back to our PowerPoint, guys. All right, we're 4 questions in, 45 minutes, we're doing good. There's just so much to tell you about all the things. Okay, next up. All right, this person is currently volunteering with USACE, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. This person is doing 20 hours per week in exchange for full hookup site with Wi-Fi. What of the norm? Is it equivalent in most places? It's really going to vary, especially anymore. The number of hours in exchange for an RV site definitely varies. With the Corps, I would say that's about average, probably 15 to 20, or even 12 to 24. With the Corps is what I've seen quite a bit. It's going to depend on the business type, of course, and the operation. It's going to depend on the location. You know, if you are looking at RV parks and the west gate of Glacier, I think that was the most expensive RV park that we've ever stayed at, and that was 6 years ago now, and it was a $75 a night site, and I thought that was crazy expensive. Now you guys have seen the hikes in campsite prices. If you can find something under 40 bucks a night now, it's like, holy crap, this is a cheap site, you know, especially for full hookups. So anyway, so the value of these sites have gone up. The cost for these sites have gone up. So supposedly there's a higher value now, even though some of the sites are definitely not. They didn't make them any better. Anyway, so in these prime areas, you're likely going to see a higher value placed on the RV site than maybe middle of nowhere Kansas. Sorry, Kansas, but there are many employers in the Midwest that have trouble finding work campers. So I know you guys are not as big of fans of being in the Midwest. I myself am not either. So, you know, I grew up there. Anyway, so it's going to depend on the location. So let's take a look at this article that we have. And this is something that you guys need to do with every work camping job. And like I said, especially with help wanted ads, you're rarely going to get the full compensation picture just from the ad. So if you read an ad and you're like, okay, everything sounds good, but I'm not so sure about, you know, the hours for site or the compensation, take the steps to get more information from the employer to get the full picture. So the website that I'm showing you guys right now, this is goneworkamping.com. This is our blog site. We just put up free articles to help you guys learn about the lifestyle. So this article that we posted here is called Doing the Math on a Work Camping Job. So I just went up to the question mark here. I typed the word math and searched on that and found this article. So because it's a few pages in now that we posted it, but this is a really great article. So I'd like you guys to read through this because you need to determine, you know, if it's campsite only and you're working in exchange, you got to figure out if that's a fair deal. Are they giving you a site plus an hourly wage? Is it for only if you work extra hours over a certain number of hours? Sometimes they're giving you a discounted site. They're going to pay you for every hour worked, but you're going to have to pay a fee for the RV site. Sometimes that's too much. Sometimes it's super cheap. It's going to vary. Bonuses, you got to factor in bonuses and then factor in the perks. And this is something that you don't see a lot, like I said, in those help wanted ads. Is Wi-Fi being provided? Is electric being provided at no cost? Are you given a uniform? Are you given meals? Are you able to use laundry at no cost? Are you getting free propane or discounted propane? Are they giving you discounts on local area stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Some employers will let you use, you know, if there are stuff on site, golf carts or kayaks, paddle boats, etc. If you're working for a tour company, maybe you get to do the tour as often as you want at no cost. That is something that you are receiving that does have value. All of those things need to be factored in. So if you are working in trade for your RV site, you have to do some math to determine what your hourly wage equates to. Now, in our opinion, and I mean, what is fair, you do your math and figure out all of the things that you're getting and what the value is. So you may need to find out what, you know, if they have a seasonal rate for the RV site or a monthly rate for the RV site, that's what you want to do your math on. If there is no monthly or seasonal, then you got to use a weekly or a daily rate in kind of doing the math on that. Different parks have different, you know, rates that they'll do. So whatever that math equates to, your hourly wage should at least equate to minimum wage, either the federal for sure or the state, that state's minimum wage. If it's less than that, that is then up to you whether it's okay for you or not okay for you. So is 20 hours a week too many? I don't know. I don't know what location this core park is in. I don't know how much sites go there. I don't know what the duties are involved with the 20 hours a week. Is the 20 hours a week sitting in a booth at the day use project and waving as campers come and go? You know, because a lot of these core projects even have the credit card pay stations now. So the folks in the booth are really just being like, oh, checking in, okay, you know, your site's down there. Like, is that all you're doing all day? And answering some questions. Oh yeah, the bathrooms are over there. Oh, if you go into town, the Mexican restaurant's really good. Is that your 20 hours a week? Or is your 20 hours a week mowing and weed eating and painting and doing minor electrical work and going for that 20 hours? Because to me, that there's a difference between those two positions and those two 20 hours of work. Hanging out in an air-conditioned booth, answering questions and saying hi to people, handing out some pamphlets, pretty easy gig. 20 hours? Sure. RV site? Great. You want me to do specialized stuff, manual hard labor, constantly going, job never ends, I'm on my feet the whole time. That's a higher value kind of thing, a higher value of work that you're doing. So there are a lot of factors that come into play when evaluating a work camping gig. There is no kind of across the board, it should be this or it should be that. There are a lot of, pieces of data to factor into your evaluation. So check out this article at the bottom here. We also have a link to, sorry, my mouse isn't working again. Use our work camping job worksheet to help you with determining what the hourly wage. So we just made a little worksheet that you guys can use to fill in. So you can download that here with this article. So yeah, lots to learn and go through there to help you with evaluating. And then we can really dive into more, but you'll find more information in our articles here in our FAQ. We go into some more details about stuff. Okay. Let's go back to the PowerPoint, y'all. All right. Next up. Is it worth it to work for an hourly wage only to have my Social Security reduced? Or can I find an opportunity to not have to pay rent? So I learned a little bit about Social Security in researching this question. So according to the SSA.gov, the Social Security Administration. So there's only a limit, or like they do a deduction. So if you have not yet reached full retirement age, which depending upon when you were born, that's either somewhere between 62 and 67. If you haven't reached that age, but you've already taken your Social Security, then yes, there is an earnings limit that you have for the year. And for 2023, that limit is $21,240. If you reach full retirement age in 2023, the limit on your earnings for the months before full retirement age is $56,520. So that's before reaching full retirement age. When you reach full retirement age, the website says, beginning with the month you reach full retirement age, your earnings no longer reduce your benefits no matter how much you earn. So it depends on your age, whether this is going to affect your Social Security or not, and also the position. Like if you're taking a summer work camping job, are you going to earn more than $21,240 in your 4 months of camp hosting, or $56,520 if you're coming upon your full retirement age? Yeah. Also, with the work camping job, is the compensation you are being provided being reported as income to you? So if you are receiving an RV site, like non-monetary compensation, just kind of physical things, is that being reported as income? That's going to depend on the employer and the state and their guidelines on bartering. If you are being paid hourly wage or a salary, be sure to know whether you are being treated as a W-2 employee or a 1099 contractor. Some employers understand the difference between the two, some do not understand the difference between the two, and some do it incorrectly. So it's up to you guys to have an understanding of the differences of those two, to know then that an employer is attributing you correctly in the eyes of the IRS, etc. So, and there's more info on that in our FAQ at workamper.com. So it's up to you if it's worth it to work for an hourly wage only to possibly have your Social Security reduced. Of course, I would, if you have an accountant or, bookkeeper, tax preparer person in your life, they would be the best one to kind of answer those kinds of questions for you, to look at all of the things about your financials to determine if you will make more than the $21,000 or not make more, et cetera, et cetera. So we are not accountants. We can't, I don't work for the IRS or the Social Security Administration, so I can't say for sure all of these things. I just Googled stuff for you guys. So it's up to you. It maybe won't even affect your Social Security at all, so it's not even a factor. Or B, yeah, that's up to you. Can I find an opportunity to not have to pay rent? Yes, there are. We see about 20% of opportunities are where you are working in trade for an RV site. And again, you just want to ask that employer if the RV site or any non-monetary perks will be reported to you as income or not. Federally, the IRS has a housing regulation where if it meets these certain stipulations, the housing should not be considered reportable income, but different states have different regulations. And yeah, so again, if you have concerns like about your financial setup and taxes and things like that, that's where an accountant or tax preparer is going to be best to talk to about those things. You can Google and learn quite a bit, but everybody's situation is so different with deductions, and are you running a small business on the road? Do you have pensions? Are you on disability? Do you have Social Security? There are a lot of different factors that different people have, so it's really best to talk to someone to look at things that are more specific to you. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to flip-flop our screens there. Okay, next up here. This person says, it looks to me like they want 2 people to work full-time and split a salary. If you have to work full, what is the benefit? You will be too tired to enjoy camping. So again, I got very little information here, so I'm just going off of the very little bit of information we have here. I don't know what employer this is. I don't know where it is. I don't know what the job is. I don't really know what the compensation is, the duties, etc. There are employers where they are seeking to hire couples, and the couples, they would say, work 40 hours a week in trade for an RV site. So each person in the couple or partnership would work 20 hours each. So if 20 hours a week is too much, that's all relative. It's really all relative, you guys. What is the benefit? This is such a personal question, and I think a lot of you guys are probably like, yeah. So some people want to work 40 hours a week doing a job, and if it's something they like doing, they're like, this is awesome. I get to do this 40 hours a week, and it's great because I love doing X, Y, Z. Other people, if you're splitting a full-time job and you're only working 20 hours a week, you're like, 20 hours a week, this is no big deal. I've got all these other hours left over. How people enjoy camping is different. Some people want to just sit outside and stare at the trees or the sand or the cactus or the river or the mountains or whatever for hours a day. And other people are like, want to be bouncing around and doing all kinds of, so I can't really answer this question. You guys have to answer these questions for yourselves. It is up to the Workamper to evaluate an opportunity to determine if it is right for them or not. It's also not fair of Workampers to say, this opportunity isn't good. If it's not good for you, it's not good for you, cool. Move on and find something that's good for you. There are employers out there that take advantage of Workampers. That exists. But again, it's up to the Workamper. If they're working for an RV site and technically in trade for that, it's a $5, value of a wage. But again, you're just sitting in an air-conditioned office, maybe answering a couple phone calls a day or whatever. It's really not too big of a deal. Or you're like interacting with kids and that's your favorite thing to do and you get to do it for 40 hours a week and you're, earning a wage and getting a site and you get to hang out with kids all day. Or you're organizing activities at a resort and you're like meeting bands and comedians and hanging out with cool people and taking these crafty ideas and having people make stuff, and it's all relative in what you guys like to do. So let's move on. Okay. This person says, please talk about expectations around scheduling Workamper hours. It's this person's first position. They expect me to close the gates of the park at 10 p.m. 6 days a week and open the gate at 6 a.m. on the 7th day. Do most people expect you to be on site every night? So lots of questions here. Did you ask what the schedule was before accepting the job? Did you get a work agreement that laid out what that schedule was going to be? Is this a total surprise to you? Did you get there and they completely changed the schedule on you and expected you to do things that you were told you weren't going to have to do? Do most employers expect you to be on site every night? I wouldn't say most. I don't know. I haven't researched every single work camping job out there. All I can go on is just having read thousands upon thousands of different work camping job ads. And again, the ads do not lay out the full picture of the opportunity. So bottom line here is research the opportunity, find out what the schedule is going to be. What are the expectations of the employer? What are your expectations of the employer? Those things need to be laid out well ahead of time. And that's why we recommend doing a work agreement as well, which is a document that lays out those expectations. And if you agree to it, then you need to follow through and do it, and the employer needs to follow through and do it. If things change while you're there, you get there and they're like, oh, hey, we're going to change the schedule to be this, or now we want you to do this position instead of this position, then you need to go to manager, supervisor, owners, whoever your next up is, and say, hey, this is what we agreed to originally. Here's the work agreement that we both signed and agreed to. You are asking for this. I can compromise to this. Or I can't compromise, we need to get it back to this. And if it's not back to this by a certain date, then I'm going to leave. Or you suck it up and stay. That is something that you have to decide for yourself. It's really going to depend on the situation. So if you went into this position not knowing what your schedule was, I mean, now you know to ask about it next time for sure, and you're learning stuff, but it's going to depend on the operation. Not a lot of places have gates that need opened and closed, so it sounds like you are at maybe a state park, county park, or Army Corps of Engineer park. I know those places sometimes have gates and stuff that open and close, so you might avoid those types of entities in the future. There are some, commercial parks, RV parks, RV resorts, or whatever that will request the work campers be kind of on call. So if an RVer pulls into the campground after the office is closed, late check-ins, you would be expected to go handle any late check-ins. If the phone rings after hours or something like that, maybe there's like a phone number that the guests get to call. It's not necessarily just anyone in the world calling, but like guests who are there have a phone number to call to reach, the camp host or the whoever's on site. You may be expected to be, on call to answer a phone or whatever. It is up to you then to, if you are on call, that's an expectation that, hopefully you agreed to ahead of time, and hopefully you are being fairly compensated for. So do most people expect you to be on site every night? No, it's going to depend on the operation, and hopefully you can get all of those details ahead of time to decide if you're cool with it or not. Okay. What do you do if you are offered a job, but the employer won't give you a contract, or we call them work agreements? I don't know that a contract is a little more of like a binding sounding thing. And I mean, it's good to have if you need to have disputes with, Department of Labor or whatever. I don't know that there have been any, binding contracts, a work camper sued an employer and won, or I don't know that any of that has ever taken place. Anyway, too much detail. That's not answering the question. Okay, so what you do. So if the employer is not willing to write up a work agreement to send to you, then I would say, hey, employer, I'm going to go ahead and write up everything that we talked about, the expectations that I have of you and the expectations that you have of me. I would like you to take a look at it. Let me know if you see anything that needs revised, or if I've missed something, or if we, need to discuss something, and then I would like for both of us to sign it, so that way both of us can feel good that and know that we're starting off on the same page. And if the employer says, no way, I'm not doing that, then it's up to you to be like, all right, I'm cool with that, I'm gonna go for it, or okay, well then I'm not going to accept this opportunity, and I'm not going to accept, not cool with that. So it's really up to you, and go with your gut and how things have gone in the communication process so far, the information you've received. If it is an entity where you have been communicating with someone who is, doing the hiring process, but that's not the person that you are going to work for, it's not your manager, supervisor, or whatever, then I might ask to also communicate with the other management people to see how they are, see if we vibe, see if their answers line up to the same answers that you received from the HR person that you communicated with that did the interview. That could be another way to kind of feel out the position and help you feel more comfortable with accepting the job without having that work agreement. So yeah, it's kind of up to you. Some employers are happy to put something together and send to you. Others are, not going to be willing to do that. Some just won't have the time. So if you're willing to take the time to write it up and give it to them, they'll look at it and be like, great, super fantastic, thanks for doing that. Others will just refuse no matter what, because that's just who they are. So got to kind of go with your gut on that one. Okay, next up. All right. So this person says, just finished working at a campground in California and was laid off at the end of the season. Should we apply for unemployment right away or wait until January? Okay, so we have very little information here. There are certainly a lot of different situations that people find themselves in. Are there situations where it is right for the worker to file unemployment? Yes. Are there situations where it is not right for the employee to file for unemployment? Yes. So at face value, my initial answer and opinion on this is you shouldn't be filing for unemployment at all. So if you went into this opportunity knowing it was a seasonal position and that it was ending in October, then you knew it was going to end anyway. So unemployment is typically for folks whose like the rug is pulled out from under them. They were expecting to have this long-term stable job, and then for whatever reasons that job was taken away from them, and they need that money in the interim while they're looking for another opportunity to find another stable job. So as a work camper, you're taking seasonal positions. So the position is going to come to an end, and then you just go and find another position. Especially in California, well, lots of jobs in California, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, lots of jobs over there. So it wouldn't be that difficult to find another opportunity once that one ended. All right. The more that work campers accept seasonal positions and then file for unemployment once that position ends, the less likely that employers are going to be to hire work campers. So the more folks that are taking advantage of these systems might eventually create less opportunities for work campers. I don't think this is a big issue in the community. Most work campers are not filing unemployment every time they finish a job, from what I've heard. So when my dad, Steve, he was the HR director at Adventureland Amusement Park in Iowa, and he built this work camper program there where hundreds of work campers would come and work for him. It was an amusement park in Iowa. They worked April through September-ish. And he would have a number of work campers file unemployment at the end of the season. not because he filed, like just the season was over and so they just filed unemployment. And he estimated once he looked at the numbers, it was like less than 2% of the Workampers were filing unemployment. So it's really not a big thing. But if you do, there are certainly, if you take a position and you're like, I'm going to be a manager at this place, I'm going to work here for many years, and then all of a sudden they're like, nope, we're done, goodbye. Crap, I had expected to do this for a number of, years, and now I'm completely flabbergasted and, you're not a Workamper, move in season by season by season. That's a different scenario. Then sure, let's figure out this unemployment thing. So, okay, so I did some researching so I'd have some more specifics for you guys. So eligibility for unemployment compensation is based on a number of factors, including the duration of employment, the employee's earnings in his or her base period, and the circumstances that led to the separation from employment or reduction in hours. And so, the base period, so for California specifically, your base period is a 12-month period of time. Each base period has 4 quarters of 3 months each. So again, we don't have enough information with this specific example, but like if you'd only been there for 3 months, working for 3 months, and then do you even have a long enough base period and enough earnings and stuff? So I don't know. If you want to try and make your case, then you should have filed within a week of when you were let go. That's what California says. File for unemployment in the first week that you lose your job or have your hours reduced. So to answer this question specifically, you should apply right away. You should not wait until January. I don't know. So anyway, yeah. I don't think Workampers in general should be applying for unemployment, but there are going to be scenarios that warrant it. So research the unemployment eligibility and guidelines and all that stuff of each state that you're going to work in to see if it is something that you would be eligible for, and then decide for yourself if you feel right about filing for it or not. Okay, let's move on. As a solo, this person is concerned about safety. What are the best ways of ensuring safety for this person and their RV? So let's dive in. I want to show you guys some good resources to connect with. So if you are a member of workamper.com, you can log in and you can go to our media library. And we have recorded jobinars in here. We have some Workamper interviews. We did do a solo RVer panel discussion. That would be a good one to listen to if you're a solo. But let's keep scrolling. Here's all of our past Q&As. So general RVing is the topic that we're looking for. And so I would listen to this one, Introduction to Personal and Physical Security for RVers. That's going to be a good one. And then Personal Protection on and Off the Road with Tracy and Dennis, another that's even a little bit newer than the other one with Ron. So I would listen to those 2 videos to give you some good tips and tricks. A lot of it's just, don't leave stuff out in your vehicle that people can see. Definitely try to keep things locked. There are, some folks that prefer to travel with firearms. If you do want to travel with firearms, then definitely check the laws of the different states that you're going through, so you know how your gun should be handled as you're going through that state, especially if you're a concealed carry kind of person. There are certainly other options, pepper spray or like those keychain things and stuff. There are self-defense classes. You could either watch some videos online or go take a physical course to learn about just like physical self-defense and personal awareness. There are always, programs of that nature going on in different places around the US. Also, I would connect with just for, connecting with other fellow solos to learn about, hear what their experiences have been and learn from their experiences. Again, we have our podcast episodes. You can find solos that have been in that podcast episode, but also womenonwheels.org is another group if you're female. womenonwheels.org, they have meetups in different chapters, and so that's a really good community to get connected with. Also, again, lots of female resources. I guess ladies are maybe just better at organizing or something. That's why I think there are a lot of lady-centric groups and stuff like that with RVers. But Girl Camper is another cool group to connect with. They provide a lot of good information and have like different live events and stuff that take place throughout the year. Another idea is to learn everything that you can about the operation and maintenance of your RV. So if you're able to handle, preventative maintenance as well as, oh crap, this thing broke, what do I do? Situations. When you're less reliant on strangers, that's going to give you some confidence and help limit interactions with people that you don't know or maybe wouldn't feel comfortable with. So the nrvta.com is the National RV Training Academy. They have in-person classes where you can go and learn about like the different systems of your RV and things like that. They also have online training as well as like it's a flash drive you can plug into your computer with videos. So rvtechcourse.com, that's some online training that you can do, or like I said, USB. It's still kind of how to maintenance RV stuff. So I would just learn as much as you can about maintaining and operating your RV. Again, you're less reliant on others in that way. So hopefully that's some resources to dig into to really help with the different little, okay, with your car you can do this, and personal protection you can do this. Those experts in the videos and just from others who've been out on the road sharing their experiences and stuff, that's going to give you some good input. Okay, next up, we're getting close to the end of the submitted questions, you guys. Alrighty. This person says, will Workamper News have an Android or Apple app? Probably eventually. Like I mentioned earlier, we are working on a complete rebuild of workamper.com that we're working on launching, and this is going to be version 4 of workamper.com. Yeah, and so yeah, eventually we may create an app that links some of the job listings or tools or whatever to it. But our website is built to function on a smartphone or tablet device, so it's meant to flex and format to whatever device you are using. So we don't have strong plans for it, but it is kind of on a list for the future. Okay, whoops, too fast. All right. That was all the previously submitted questions. I'll take maybe about 10 minutes or here. If those of you who are online live with us have some questions, feel free, you can pop a few questions in. I see we did have a few questions that were submitted as we were going along. So I'll go ahead and we'll hit on those. And let's go ahead. I'm actually going to pull in another slide here. And let's see. Okay. So let's hit on these other questions. Okay. Okay. Oops. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. I'm all over the place. Okay. Here we go. All right. If you are domiciled in a no, let's say, income tax state, Florida, and you work a few months in a state with income tax, how does that work? Okay, so this was a question submitted by a live attendee. Thank you for your question, Joseph. So yeah, it's again gonna come back to a little bit what we talked about earlier. So you need to communicate with that employer. If you are receiving compensation, you need to determine if it's going to be reported income or not. If you're just working in trade for an RV site, there may be no income reported, so nothing to worry about. If you are going to be receiving a W-2 or a 1099, that obviously is reported income, and you would likely need to file a tax return for that state that you worked in. It would be a non-resident tax return, most likely. We do have, if you go to the Workamper FAQ on our website, we have a couple more questions kind of on the tax stuff in there. We also have an article, it's in the Gone Workamping blog. I'm sorry, I'm not sure which page it's on, that goes a little more in depth on this topic as well. So I have heard from Workampers, I've heard them say before, like, yes, we did have to file a tax return in another state, but you know, the earnings and deductions were as such that we didn't owe any tax. You know, whatever was deducted, because like in that situation, they were W-2, so they had already paid in some state tax to that state, and so they didn't owe anything. And in some scenarios, depending upon a lot of factors, you know, on all the things on your tax return and stuff, some folks may even get a refund back. It's really going to depend on each individual's situation. And if you are, you know, self-employed, you're working as a contractor, that's a whole other kind of accounting kettle of fish. So if you are working as a small business, doing contract work, I would definitely lean more on having an accountant or someone you can talk to about that, especially with operating in different states, just to make sure you're crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's. Okay, all right, let's see here. All right, there was another question here. I'm just reading it to try and see if I understand. Okay, all right, so let me go over here. I'm just gonna add this to this slide. It's kind of a longer question. So let's make some room here. Okay, so this person says, I've been having a problem with a Workamper site or regular RV park demanding, this person says, demanding my social security number and or photocopying driver's license. Does this go on and how can I refuse? Okay. All right, so if you are going to work for a business, if you are going to be an employee of a business, it is necessary for them to have your social security number, and likely the photocopy of your driver's license would go along with your I-9 form, which requires you to provide, I think, 2 forms of identification. So they would need that information in order to, you know, list you as an employee and pay you accordingly. So if you want to refuse to provide that information, then you likely will not be able to work at a lot of places, as that's just something that is required to be an employee. And oftentimes, even if you're working as a 1099 contractor, like you might, you know, if you have a business entity that you've set up, you may be able to provide them with your, maybe like your articles of incorporation or something like that, if you're not comfortable with sharing your social security number. If your business has an EIN, as long as your EIN is not your social security number, you could just share your EIN. If you're doing a contracting position, you'd be able to do that instead of your social security number. As far as just going and camping at an RV park, I've never had to provide that information. Maybe that's if you're looking for a long-term site and you were going to maybe be living on property for years and years. I believe there are, you know, background checks and stuff sometimes that places will do. It's kind of up to them on how they want to handle that. So you can, I mean, maybe just ask why they need that information in the first place. The person asking for it may not be able to answer it. And if they're not able to answer it, then say, well, can I talk to the manager or owner who would be able to answer my question? You know, and just kind of ask them in a nice way, like, I'm curious as to why you need this information from me. And then see how that conversation goes, whether you're then comfortable providing it or not. So it's kind of up to you. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know if there are laws saying a, you know, RV park cannot request this information from their customer or not. I'm really not sure. You could possibly ask, there's the Association of Recreational Vehicle Campgrounds. It's called ARVIC, ARVC.org. That's their website. You might ask them if they know if there are any laws saying that's okay or not okay, because honestly, I'm not sure. Alrighty, we had one more, not really a question, just a statement that was put in, but we can address it here. Let's see, let's pull this up, make some more room. I shouldn't want to pull another slide, I'm being lazy, sorry guys. Okay, this person's statement is, I'm having no luck finding winter work in areas of the central southern states. So that's a bummer. Again, there really isn't enough information here for me to like give you like specifics. It is always more difficult to find fall winter opportunities in the South in the winter months. There are lots of opportunities in Texas, of course. Florida is a pretty prime place, so it can be harder to find opportunities in Florida just because there's a lot of demand for them. If you are someone, like I said, and it's going to depend. Do you have a 45-foot motorhome and you want a full-time position where you're paid for every hour worked and an RV site is provided and you get other perks? Yes, that's going to be harder for you to find a position than if you had a 25-foot RV that would pretty much fit anywhere and you can work and trade for site or earn some extra dollars. It really doesn't matter. And you're cool working part-time or closer to full-time hours, you know, you can be flexible. So it's really going to depend. If you are, you know, like we talked about earlier, you have a unique RV or you must make so much money or you must, you know, you whatever. You have a few more kind of stipulations that must be followed in order for you to be good. Then being proactive is what you really need to focus on. You need to be following the job listings all year round and communicating with employers, you know, a decent amount of time in advance. You won't be able, it'll be a lot harder to just roll down the road and find an opportunity. Just kind of on the fly. One thing you could do is, you know, try to find an RV park that you can stay at long term and then just find a position in the local community. As we kind of talked about, in a lot of areas around the country, there are, you know, businesses that are still having a hard time finding enough people to operate consistently. So looking outside of traditional Workamper job listings might be a way for you to go. And I'm not sure what you're doing currently. You know, do you have your resume active in our database? Are you updating it often so that way your resume is appearing more frequently at the top of search results? Is your resume written well? Have you sent it to some friends to get their opinion and proofread it for you and give you their input? Are you contacting a lot of employers and just not hearing back? Are you posting on Facebook and, you know, following the different groups and trying to connect with employers that way? Like, so kind of not knowing what your tactic is and what exactly you're looking for, it's hard for me to be like, oh, this or oh, this. But, you know, I think we kind of covered, you know, some job finding tips and stuff earlier today. So you just really got to dig in, and if you can, try to start earlier. Also look outside of the traditional RV park and campground jobs. There are a lot of, a newer one that's kind of come out the last few years is tax preparation services. Specifically, Jackson Hewitts are getting into hiring Workampers. They're a new featured employer. Look for the concessionaire companies like American Land and Leisure, Explore Us, Vista Recreation, Parks Management Company, Sun Outdoors. These are entities that have a lot of different operations or, you know, operate a lot of different campgrounds and rec areas around the country. So, you know, with more locations, there are hopefully more opportunities available with them. So yeah, there's a few ideas to throw at you, but like I said, you're welcome to, anybody is welcome to reach out to us if you guys have more questions, you know, that we didn't answer today. or other things that come up as you're, learning about this work camping lifestyle, we're certainly happy to help you guys as best we can. So if you're not yet a member of workamper.com, I encourage you to do so. We have a wealth of information and resources available to you guys, and lots of cool opportunities that are out there to explore and try out. So work camping can be challenging and can be awesome. It's really a great way to experience new places and meet new people. That's really a lot of the intangible benefits that people talk about, is the relationships that they build with the people that they meet along the way. And yes, there can be situations that turn out to be negative, and that's a bummer. But your home has wheels. So if you do end up in an opportunity that you are not safe at or not comfortable with, you can move on, or can you stick it out? Some people say, I can do anything for 2 months or 4 months, and then I'll be on and move on with it and won't have to do it anymore. Or obviously there are situations that you need to move on from right away, just for your own safety. So with the resources and tools that we have available to you, hopefully you will be less likely to encounter those kinds of situations. So that's one of our goals for you guys. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful and we answered a lot of questions for you guys, but you can find us workamper.com or call us 800-446-5627 or send us email support@workamper.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You can find us in a lot of different places. So anyway, we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, rest of your month, rest of your year. I think we're going to stop doing these Q&A webinars just for a little while, maybe try some other things. So I thank you guys very much for listening in here, and we hope to see you down the road and wish you all many happy work camping adventures. Thanks, everybody.